Arizona has moved on from athletic director Dave Heeke. What does that mean for the Wildcats going forward?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. This show is brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel.com/locked on. All right, now, Dave Heeke has been removed effective February 2nd as the athletic director at the University of Arizona. I'm obviously a Dave guy. Now, I'm going to say this. If there is a bunch of financial malfeasance in the athletic department, you got to do what you got to do. I totally understand that. Totally get it. I will say that I think Dave Heeke's made some really good hires. And we're gonna break that one all down. But according to the report that was leaked by President Robbins, it's going to be for financial, basically for overspending money that you didn't have, and also messing up Jed Fish's contract, which I find funny. We will get back to that. But first, I think it also is important to remember exactly where exactly Dave Heeke, what he inherited and what's going on here. Now, the first thing is, when he got here, the athletic department was a mess. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it again and again and again, that I have no problem if you got to get rid of Dave Heeke for, because the financials just weren't there. Cool. I get it. It's a business. I like the guy, but it's a business. Now, when Dave Heeke took over at the university, this program, everything was a mess. You had players that were getting arrested left and right, from Orlando Bradford to track coaches to Elliot Pitts getting booted out of school. I can keep going on and on and on. Booker Richardson was about to drop, all of that. Phelps. There was just a lot of stuff that was going on. And honestly, Dave Heeke cleaned that up. You haven't had those issues since Dave Heeke took over, and that to me is a big deal. That to me is a massive deal. I think with, I would rather watch a program, not have a great season, knowing that players around them aren't going to get probably arrested, this, that, and the other. So there's that. Now, Dave definitely had some misses. There's no doubt about it. And some big misses. Kevin Sumlin was a big miss. Again, not breaking any news there, but Kevin Sumlin set the athletic department back a long way. It was about as disastrous a coaching decision as you could possibly make. But I'm also going to say this, if you want to give Robbins credit with some hires, you also got to give him that one Dave's hire. But again, Dave's the athletic director. Dave's going to be the one that takes the arrows there. I get it. And then obviously Dave wasn't great with, boosters. He was able to get some, but that wasn't, obviously he wasn't great at that. And that's something that you got to do as an athletic director. But what Dave was a good dude. Dave, in this day and age, it's very rare to see an athletic director who I think cares about other people and just kind of does things the right way, to be honest with you. And that's kind of the way that he always was. Now, the University of Arizona obviously has real financial issues, and I think that stems from the top with Bobby Robbins. Now, what's fascinating to me about Robbins is that everybody under him seems to be kind of taking that fall. We'll get to that. But, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that there was a $240 million budget projection shortfall, which is obviously not ideal. And that's something that, you can't really have happen as the head of an athletic department. Now, I think being allowed to, maybe you can get out of this some way. I don't know, but Robbins is clearly looking to to do what he can. Now, with Robbins and Heeke, it was actually a fairly good working relationship, I believe. If you were to ask Jed Fish off record, he would tell you that he's a big fan of Dave Heeke. And Dave, I think, did a lot of things as far as getting coaches more comparable pay, which is a big thing. And not only getting coaches more comparable pay, but also getting them, making them, I guess, feel wanted. That's something that Arizona has struggled with in the past is coaches not getting paid what they should probably be getting paid. That's been an issue that's been an issue obviously for a while. Now, Jed Fish had a contract. He didn't want to sign it. I don't know what else to say there. Now, part of the thing that I am going to dispute is the Jed Fish contract claim. That to me is nonsense. Mishandling listen, President Robbins is involved in every single aspect of hiring and firing when it comes to coaches. President Robbins doesn't just stay away when it comes to when it comes to the contract of his prized possession. It's not like he's like, well, you know what, we got all these guys in here. I got who I wanted, and guess what? When it's time to get a contract extension, well, I don't know. I probably won't be around. That's not his style. Nobody believes that happened. So there is that when it comes to President Robbins. And again, when it comes to Robbins, I'm cool with Robbins. I don't like throwing people under the bus. That's definitely not something I like. But I do like a president that understands the value of athletics. A lot of times you have presidents that don't understand the value of athletics, and I think that that very much hurts the university. I mean, again, you could look at Michael Crow right up the street and see somebody that doesn't understand the value of athletics. So there's that. And Robbins clearly cares. I think if it wasn't for Robbins, I don't think we'd be going to the Big 12. He's and listen, the hires have been good. Listen, like we said, Sumlin was a disaster, but at the same time, Jed Fish, even though we don't like how he left, was a home run. Then after Jed Fish, you also have Brent Brennan, the way that they were able to save ship and make that one work. You got to give a lot of kudos to them as well. So, I mean, there is that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit, though, about Robbins and his entire play in all of this because, again, he's done some good things, especially when it comes to COVID. But Robbins also is, I think at this point, it's fair to say that he's looking to save his own butt. And I get that. You're looking to save your own butt. And there's going to be an audit that's going to come out that's not going to be good for the athletic department at all. And so we will be talking about that a ton because again, that does matter in all of this. So we need to be frank about that. Pardon the pun. We need to be frank. I was at Frank Caliendo, so I still have Frank on the mind. All right. But first, FanDuel, check it out, fans. FanDuel. We could call it FamDuel because it's a family environment, but it's called FanDuel. FanDuel.com/locked on. All right. Now, there's nothing more enjoyable than betting on things with where you've got something clearly in the game. And listen, that's where it's at. FanDuel.com/locked on. All right. Now you can bet on games. You can bet on games that are about to start, in-game futures, all of it. FanDuel.com/locked on. Again, check it out. You will thank me later because it's fun. Check it out. FanDuel.com/locked on. Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we got even more to get to this show. Obviously, we have more to get to this show. Now, hold on, if I could find my pen. I always lose my pen. All right, where is my pen? All right, but we got a few things now that we're going to talk about. And first and foremost, that is going to be Bobby Robbins. All right, I got to get my pen. Hold on 2 seconds. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I found my pen. All right, Bobby Robbins. Listen, everybody knows about the $240 million projected shortfall, and that comes on Bobby Robbins, and comes back to nobody else. Now, what's happening though that's interesting is that people are taking the fall, or not only are people taking the fall, but it does feel like it does feel like everything's just being moved around. Like I said, the person that was technically responsible for this, that is that's a person that has just kind of essentially been reassigned. I don't know really what to say about that, other than the fact that they've been reassigned. And I don't understand exactly why there isn't any more accountability involved here, but obviously that audit's going to come back, and that audit is not going to be good. And not only is the audit probably not going to be good, it's probably going to be devastating. But here's my whole thing. Fair enough. You got to get rid of Dave. I get it. But I will say that one thing that we do need to keep in mind, though, is that Bobby Robbins is not signing off on anything that he doesn't already know about. I mean, listen, if you mean to tell me if this financial audit comes back bad, I don't believe for a second that that Bobby Robbins doesn't have an idea of what's going on. That's just the way it is. That is going to be, and that's what I'm going to stick to. But like I said, I'm going to keep going back to this as well. If Dave Heeke, Dave Heeke didn't do what he had to do when it comes to financials, then totally get it. I do think that, but I think both of these guys need to be tied at the hip. I don't believe for a second that if Dave Heeke is out, that Bobby Robbins shouldn't be out either. That's just kind of the way it is. So there's that. Now, when it comes to the boosters, I can't really listen. When it comes to the boosters, Dave didn't do a great job with some of these guys. Some of them have kind of stepped back to a certain degree. Some of that was over the Sean Miller stuff. But I also don't know exactly what he was supposed to do. But when it really came time to it, you had somebody who was in Humberto Lopez that was prepared to pay players, be able to step up and make those NIL contributions that needed to be made. And so, I mean, listen, when the chips were down, he was able to make those moves happen. Okay, so then I guess what's next? Mike Candrea is going to be in as the interim AD, obviously, and then after that, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Mike Candrea is the permanent AD. Again, I don't have any inside info on that, but from at least what some people have told me, I don't know that they're huge. Candrea is a huge fan of, or excuse me, that Robbins is a huge fan of Erica Barnes, who most people want in there. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. But what you also need to understand, though, too, is that Arizona football and basketball are in good shape. From a coaching perspective. As a matter of fact, you got a top 10 basketball team in the country, obviously with Tommy Lloyd. You got a top 15 football team coming back with Brent Brennan. You got a lot to like about it. So again, there is that. And I mean, listen, if you're going to blame Dave for some stuff, you got to, obviously give him some credit for the rest. But athletic departments are running budget shortfalls. And that's just kind of the way it is across the country. Now, listen, there was a budget, or there was an audit for a reason, and it's probably going to come back really bad. So again, I'm not going to be able to sit here and just say that nothing should have happened, but it does seem that at times that some people are taking the fall for other people, or I just have a hard time believing at the end of the day that this entire athletic department, that this entire school, that everybody is to blame but Bobby Robbins. So we'll find out. We'll see how many lives he has as well. And I think a big part of it is that we also need to just let this one play out. The audit's going to come out Thursday, and we'll know a lot more there. But like I said, it's not a good look for anybody all the way around. And I think if you're an Arizona fan, yeah, it just feels like one thing just keeps coming after the other. Again, the on the field product was saved. And that's a big thing, because Arizona, when Jedd Fisch left, I think everybody, including myself, was like, all right, well, back to square one, back to not being good again. But then, obviously Arizona was able to keep that roster intact, and not only keep that roster intact, but you're probably going to be able to add some players as well. That was a big part of it. Now, let's see here. Now, let's see. One thing that I shouldn't. One thing that I think. One thing that I think. Um, One thing that I think that everybody does need to know is that we're going to now talk about what's next then for the U of A. From an on the field and from a off the field standpoint. Listen, I think you need to get somebody in here that is probably not going to cost a lot of money. That is a big part of it, and not only is that not a big part of it, um, or that is a massive part of it, to be honest with you. You need to be able to get somebody in here that's not going to be able to that's not going to cost a ton of money, and somebody that I guess donors and boosters are going to respect. That is a big part of all of this, and we're going to talk about who that could possibly be coming up next. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, what is next for the University of Arizona? I assume, and again, I don't have any inside info on this, but I assume Mike Candrea is probably going to be the permanent, or there's going to be essentially the permanent replacement. Now, I don't know that Mike Candrea has necessarily athletic department managing experience, but Mike Candrea does check off a lot of the boxes that I think a lot of people are looking for, in that he is obviously well respected in the community. I think that fundraisers would be back immediately for him. And I think that he's ready to keep moving around and stuff. Listen, he obviously is retired from softball, but this is a lot of times when a athletic department is kind of hemorrhaging, is not doing well. When you bring in when you bring in a new athletic director that has the love of the community that people respect, that makes things a lot easier. And I think Mike Candrea is certainly that dude. Mike Candrea. Now, listen. I think with listen, I mean, hires are pretty much made, I think, at this point. I mean, you've got already in place, you've got with basketball, Tommy Lloyd, and any smart U of A fan knows that you want Tommy Lloyd here for the rest of eternity. You want him to be here until 2050. Because again, for as frustrated I think as some people are, we would like to have Tommy Lloyd here. Then when it comes to Arizona football, Brent Brennan, there's every reason to believe that he will succeed. We want Brent Brennan here as well. That would be I think if you could make both those ones happen, then Arizona is obviously in some pretty good shape. Now, from when it comes to some of those other ones, Caitlin Lowe was the handpicked successor. Caitlin Lowe was not, has not really set the world on fire, but it's still early. I think that we could see that maybe Caitlin Lowe can step that one up. Chip Hale, kind of the same way. But Nebraska did this a while back with when the athletic department was really struggling. You brought in Tom Osborne. You bring in some credibility. The average person likes him. This, that, and the other. And then I think we're also kind of at the point too where what's next for President Robbins? Because again, I mean, this budget shortfall certainly comes back to him at the end of the day. And he is the president after all. Now, listen, I mean, he rearranged, basically moved the CFO all the way around and basically gave her another job. And then obviously Dave Heeke is out at this point. There's going to be more heads to roll. And I think at some point people are going to have, the board's going to have to say, all right, so how did you not know about this? How did this sneak up on you? And I think that's something that people need to, that Bobby Robbins is going to have to answer for. And there's a lot of different avenues as to why, Arizona's in the financial spot. First of all, giving scholarships to kids that couldn't get into UC Davis didn't really turn out to be a financial benefit. And not only did it not find out to be a financial benefit, it also didn't find out to be something that really made much sense at all to begin with. I get that you're trying to explode the student population. I get all of that. But at the same time, it didn't really do anything, and it kind of put you in a financial bind. So there is that. Then on top of that, I think the one thing that we also do need to talk about is, if there is a new president, what are you looking for? And again, this is kind of where it's playing with fire, because the president still determines the trajectory of the entire athletic department. Because if you got a president that cares about sports, i.e., Bobby Robbins, then there's obviously going to be attention paid on it. If you've got a president like Michael Crow who does not care about sports, then you're also going to see attention deflected away from it. There's going to be basically we kind of tolerate sports around here situation. That's where it's at with the president basically decides the way that ship is going to sail. And again, we're going to find that one out. We'll find out what exactly is going to occur. But I do think that we're kind of at the stage now where that move might need to be made. Listen, if you're going to fire a bunch of people beneath you, then you probably should have to take the problem at some point as well. But, just to kind of sum up again, listen, like I said, everybody knows I'm a Dave Heeke guy, but if there was gross financial malfeasance in the athletic department and they got to let him go, I get it. Just is the way it is. That's the way that the profession works. But like I said, my whole thing is then at some point the top dog has to roll as well. It can't just be Dave Heeke. Or people under President Robbins. Got to be him as well. And we'll see how this exactly plays out. But like I said, going forward, I imagine it's going to be Mike Candrea. And not only do I imagine that it's going to be Mike Candrea, I got to believe that, maybe he can bring some boosters back in, see exactly what's going on, because you're going to need some money. Now, they've done a good job raising money for the coaching staff, and Brent Brennan is going to get a nice little pool bump for his assistants. Lonzo Carter in here already, Bobby Wade, Dwayne Aquina, like we already talked about. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of good stuff that is going on. And again, the Tommy Lloyd, you got 3 years left on the deal. Keep looking to extend him. Tommy Lloyd is the man. Arizona fans need Tommy Lloyd here as long as possible. We do not want to lose Tommy Lloyd. But on that note, like I said, we're going to come back. We're going to start breaking down Arizona against the Oregon schools coming up. And we're also going to talk about kind of what's going on with the basketball team. They're ranked 9th in the country, but they don't look great. We have high expectations in Tucson when it comes to Arizona basketball, and that is obviously something that is kind of the lifeblood of the program, of the franchise, or the program of everything. But again, it's a I think it's kind of struck people, but at the same time, we're also going to know more tomorrow when that audit comes out. And, again, at the end of the day, it is what it is. If the audit is bad, then, certain people have to be held accountable. And I totally get that. This is a bottom line business. This is sports. I understand all of that. So, we will certainly talk more about that as well. But on that note, as always, very, very much appreciate you guys making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Listen, Arizona basketball, Arizona football is awesome right now, and we've been through some tough times. We're going to get through all of these together, Wildcat fans. We will, because guess what? We bear down and we back the A around here. But on that note, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.